Hey folks, how are we doing? Mr. Carter here, ready to help you with Fluency and Skills Practice, lesson 22.1. This one is representing data on a line plot. Okay, so go ahead and put your name on this if you haven't yet. And let's begin. Okay, so it says use the data below to answer the question. So here's our data. It says Shannon has 8 colored pencils. The lengths in inches, that's going to be important for later, are shown. So she's got one pencil, for example, that's 7 1/4 inches long, and then et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to go through all of these. So let's go ahead and make a line plot to represent this data. All right, so first of all, I'm going to look to see, check out my data to make sure that they're all the same fraction, right? And yeah, it's looking like they're fourths or they're whole numbers, so we're good there. So we don't need to make our data all... we don't need to change any of the fractions because they're all fourths of an inch. All right, so I'm going to start with a nice ruler, and I'm going to put our line right here, about here. Okay, and you want to go like, a little closer to the question 2 with your line because you want to make sure you have enough room for your data here. So you're going to draw a line. Okay, and a line has 2 arrows. Like so. Okay, and then what I want to do is how we start, and we want to look at our data and see which number it makes sense to start with. So I'm looking and I'm seeing like we have 7 1/4 and 6 3/4. They're basically between 6 holes and 7 holes, or a little bit more than 7. So wouldn't it make sense, for example, to start with 0, right? Because then if we would start with 0, then we'd have to go all the way to like 7, which doesn't make sense. So you want to look at your data and look for your lowest amount. And in this case, the lowest amount is 6. So I'm going to put a line here, and I'm going to call that 6. And that's going to be our smallest piece of data. And then we got to think, okay, what kinds of lines, or how do we want to separate our line out? All right, and since we're dealing with fourths, I'm going to make every line 1/4. So I'm going to make another line here, and we're going to go up 1/4. So I'm going to make this 6 1/4. I'm going to make another line, and it's going to be 6 2/4. So we're just going up by fourths. So then it would be 6 3/4. Now, here we're going to be, it would be 6 4/4, but we could write just 7 holes instead, right? Because that's what that is, right? So I would write 7. And then now we're starting back over again with 7 1/4, 7 2/4, 7 3/4, and I'm going to just do one for fun and make it 8 holes, right? And how did I know to stop? Well, I again looked at my data and saw my largest number, my largest data was 7 3/4. So I don't need to go any further along than this. So I could have stopped at 7 3/4. So I was like, all right, I'll just do one more to make it 8 holes, right? So now that our line is set up, we are going to add our data. So I do this very slowly, very mindfully. Take your time because you don't want to miss any information. So I go one piece of data at a time, and I go 7 1/4. I cross it out, and then I immediately put my X on 7 1/4. Oops, and sorry, I got blurry for a second. So again, you want to go one piece of data at a time so you don't miss anything. So my next one is 6 3/4. I'm going to put an X there. 7 3/4, cross it out. Immediately put your X. 7 holes. Immediately put your X. And you can see here that your line plot is starting to take shape. 6 2/4, immediately put your X. Whoops, I forgot to cross it out. 7 1/4, cross it out. Immediately put your X. 6 1/4, immediately put your X. And then finally 6 and immediately put your X. All right. So there we have it. Here's our line plot, and it got fuzzy. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we are. Our line plot is set up. So if your line plot doesn't look like this, double check it with mine. This is what it should look like. So let's now look at our questions. Oh, wait a minute. We can't go to our questions. We're missing 2 pieces of our line plot. We can't forget, and a lot of 4th graders tend to do this, we can't forget our title and then the label down here. So we have to think about, okay, what is this line plot representing? And that's what we're going to name the data, the table. So our data is representing, if we go back here, the length of the colored pencils. All right, so I could call this colored pencil lengths. So yeah, so I'm hoping you don't forget to put your title and then our label. So now the label is, what are these numbers? What do they represent? Are they like miles? Is it inches? Is it gallons? What is it? Well, these numbers are inches because that's what it said. So these numbers are the length in inches. Okay, so again, the title is what is the data about. The label is what do the numbers mean. Well, they mean that they're the length of the pencils in inches. It's not centimeters, it's not miles, it's inches, right? So it's important to make sure that your label says that. So now we can go to question 2. It says, what is the length of the shortest colored pencil? So I'm looking at my data and I see the shortest length is 6 inches. Okay. Which length is the most common? Well, that's the one with the most x's. In this case, we can quickly see there's 2 x's here at 7 1/4. So that's the one that's most common, 7 1/4. Okay, moving along. Shannon's pencil case is 7 2/4 inches long. How many pencils are too long for the pencil case? Explain how you know. Well, all of these pencils are shorter than 7 2/4. So they would fit in her pencil case. However, we have one pencil here, 7 3/4, that's too long. It's like 1/4 of an inch too long. So we have one pencil is too long. And how do we know? It's because it's larger than 7 2/4. Or I should say it's longer than 7 2/4. All right, how many pencils are between 6 and 7 inches in length? This one can be a little tricky because we have to look at the question really quickly, or really carefully, I should say, not quickly. They're asking which ones are between 6 and 7 inches, not including 6 and 7 inches. So how I do these types of problems is I take my 2 hands and I'm going to cover up 6 because, again, they don't want to know which ones that are 6 inches long. They want to know in between, right? And then I'm going to cover up 7 inches because, again, it's between 6 and 7. So I'm going to cover up 7 because we don't want to include that one. And then now we can clearly see that there's 3 pencils in between 6 and 7 inches. Because, again, we're not including 6 and we're not including 7, so that's why we're covering it up. So you can see that there's 3 pencils. So let me write the answer there. There are 3 pencils between 6 and 7 inches. Okay. Question 6, have fun with that. It says, write one question of your own that could be answered by the data represented in the line plot. So, and then answer it. So you might have fun and say, okay, well, how many pencils are between 6 and 7, and what is the combined length? You might want to add those, or Maybe is what's the difference between the longest pencil and the shortest pencil. Again, have fun with that. Everyone's answers will be different for question 6. All right, that's it for now. If you have questions, reach out to your teacher, and take care.